My grandfather's deck has no pathetic cards, Kaiba, but it does have the unstoppable Pot of Greed. This card allows me to draw 2 cards from my deck. Wait, are we live?
Yeah.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the GDQ.
Tricks. I think with a lot of speedruns, what can be difficult sometimes is that every stage sort of has a different way to approach it, a different problem to solve. But with Bubsy 3D, it's really just learn one trick and you can apply it over and over, or at least a small number of tricks. And so the first thing I'm going to show off is how to climb walls in order to get out of bounds. That really does kind of break this game wide open. So you might try it and see if you can climb up the wall, but you'll notice that you pretty much slide down immediately whenever you touch a wall like this. You need a slope, but fortunately pretty much every wall in Bubsy 3D is sloped like this, so that's not a big deal. What we're going to do is we're going to jump at it sideways, and it's purely a timing game. You just need to jump again at the right timing, and you can tell what the timing is because you'll kind of hear the sound of Bubsy's feet landing on the wall. So I'm going to do it once, and then I'm going to kind of explain what I'm doing. So I climb up the wall. Every single time I hear my feet land, I jump again. Bubsy has kind of 2 types of jumps he'll do. It's not really consistent. It depends on how long he's in the air. You'll notice sometimes when I'm in the air, I just jump and fall straight back down. Sometimes I do a flip in midair. The timing's a little bit different, but you do get the feeling for it. It's not too hard. The other trick is I try to keep so this game has tank controls. If I hold left and right, it just makes the camera turn. Otherwise, it's forward and back to move. Those are the way I'm gonna get over there. This is a switch. We haven't actually had to hit any of these yet, but when I hit this switch, it turns on this propeller right here. And usually if you float above the propeller, you kind of get a certain amount of height, and that's it. That's all. The propellers can hurt you, by the way, if you actually touch them. But you just kind of float in place, so I'll float back down, and then I'll float back up. And that's nice. But this is actually the only instance that this comes up to my knowledge. It may come up in 100%, and I'm misremembering. But one of the cool things is that if you hover off of this propeller and get stuck under a platform, so like this right here, notice the camera's going up and up and up, and if I push forward to get myself unstuck, I'm now way in the air. So I like built up speed over a period of time, getting stuck underneath that platform, and ended up landing here. The place you want to land is right there on that platform that's in front of me. It has 2 teleports. Why would anyone speedrun this game? I think that there is a certain beauty to speedrunning games that are like just purely for the tricks that are in them. Like, I think the tricks in this game are really satisfying. That's what drew me to it initially. That and really just being a big Bubsy fan, but I'm not prepared to unpack that on Hotfix. That is a completely different discussion. But like, I think what I was drawn to was that this game has really cool tricks. So even if the game has a bad reputation or maybe isn't super fun casually, which I would probably argue, I think it is kind of a fun game casually if you aren't going into it looking for the next Super Mario 64. But I think it's a good game. So this is the final stage. The whole point of this game was, well, I'm not ready to unpack that one either. But the story of this game is that Bubsy crash landed on the planet of the Woolies. Usually the Woolies come again. That would have been a real mistake. But we actually don't need the teleporter. Probably want the teleporter, but if you're real brave, this jump is extremely long. But if you line up really well, so if you make sure your jump is very straight, and you time your initial jump as late as possible, and you do a long jump into a glide, you can actually land at the base of the mountain in a way that it won't kill you. I want to see if I can get that to demonstrate it. Oh, that was way too early. The goal here is if I can land at the base of the mountain without sliding off right into the water, which is tricky, then I can turn the camera and climb up this wall. And the top of this wall is where the teleporter would have taken us. So doing this is probably, you know, if you consider the teleporter to be the intended way, this would probably save about 15 seconds or so. That was not a straight angle, but I still stuck the landing. So you can see here, for some reason, it will sometimes let you stick the landing. I'm here at the very base of the mountain. If I move an inch, I die. If I try to run up the hill, I die. If I run in any direction, I die. But if I just start jumping, I can climb to the top. It's good to try to kill one before the other, right? Kill one at a time. It's just going to make your life easier. There's Esther. By the way, the bosses are named Polly and Esther, and I hate that so much.
That's a fantastic name.
Oh. So Esther will stay.
Door opener simulator. It's all about doors with Silent Hill. It's all about doors. You gotta learn about doors. Every door in this game. See, here's an example of a door that works differently. If you run straight out this door, you bonk. That's no good. You don't want that. That's bad door. What you need is good door. You should seek for good door instead. So what you gotta do is you gotta come at it from a slight angle, like that. Not like that, actually. That's not how you do it. That's too far to the left. Try that again. Get the good door angle. Like that. No bonk. That's the good door. That's what you seek. You can't just walk at doors straight on. That's like too forward. You gotta come at it from a side angle sometimes. Every door in this game behaves a little differently, and the only way to learn it is to learn it. You gotta memorize them all. Turn your flashlight off. The first thing you want to do in this boss fight, skip the cutscene, run forward, and immediately try and get 3 close-range shotgun shots off. They gotta be close. They don't gotta be that close. 3 shots will do from like relatively close range, and then he starts pulsating a little bit. Wait it out. And then take a step back when he opens, fire 2 shots off, and that's that boss done completely because he takes critical damage when the mouth is open. Then he dies quickly.
Oh, wow.
And while this is happening, I'm going to strafe around his corpse for no reason other than because I think it's funny.
I mean, that's an important part of the run, right? Is just finding your own little joys and stuff.
You gotta dance. Alright, and this next strategy coming up here is called Nurse Push. And Nurse Push can be a bit complicated and difficult to explain. It doesn't actually save that much time, but it is unavoidably a thing. What you want to do is you want to enter the room and start holding aim and walk at the same time so that you walk into the enemy to try and push them. Then fire, then wait, then fire again. This enables you to push past the nurse while she's dying to get through the door. That was actually pretty good. I delayed it a lot to make sure I got through, but I got through. And now she's dead on the way back, so she's not in the way. If she's too far forward, which can happen randomly, it can be impossible to get this, but sometimes you gotta push more, depending on how far back she is, and sometimes you barely need to push at all. So knowing how much you can push your luck, proverbially speaking, is something you just have to gauge. But you don't immediately run in and start firing at her. What you don't do is you don't run in, fire 2 shots, and then try and push past her instantly. You need to sort of space them out a bit so that you have time to push her out of the way. Out of bounds, which I do not recommend that any beginner actually does because nobody gets this consistently. It's supposed to be a show for like beginner speedrun tutorials, but I would be remiss to not at least point out that this exists. No one should actually attempt to do this in a beginner speedrun. You need to finish your run. No one gets this consistently. It's really hard. What you gotta do is you gotta run forward, quick turn when you walk out this far, and try and get this guy to knock you through the loading screen. That's too far forward, so that didn't work. You gotta try and get this guy to knock you forward through the loading screen while he's on your back and munching on you. The timing is very particular. You will hear a noise as you go through to confirm that it worked. You gotta sort of walk going into it. That should do it. Yes, that works. See, the munching noise continues into the screen, meaning that's how you know that it worked. Right now, Harry does not have collision. Or rather, I should say he has sort of misplaced collision. What that means is that if you hold forward, you'll just walk through the door. And if I keep walking forward, I would be able to land on the rooftop near the hospital, thus skipping an entire boss fight. I do not recommend you actually do this in a beginner run because any skip reliant on enemy AI is inherently random. The romper might not behave in such a way that allows you to do that. And I can find my way back in. I found my way back in. And nobody gets that trick consistently. Every time you fail it and have to retry, it costs some time. Sometimes the enemy AI just isn't paying attention to you at all, so you can't do it. This is a thing that you learn when you're sort of at the intermediate to advanced level, because it does save a lot of time. It is a significant amount of time. But for your first runs, when you're just picking up the game, I don't recommend you do this. But I did want to point out that it exists. It'd be hard to navigate these, like, very dark out of, like, areas in Silent Hill. was not too big a concern. You get the feel for it. Anyway, here's the best store. Just cats. It's the store that's just cats. Get it in frame? Just cats. Yes, just cats. Sorry, there's nothing to do here. I just like that exists.
That's a fantastic building. I approve.
Just cats. I'm wearing a cat on my shirt right now. Minmo. Growing up strong and healthy. This is a Subway advert from Silent Hill 3. This is like one of their like faux English advertisements that Team Silent made. I got it on a shirt.
That is wonderful.
Is there any noticeable time? Alright, I'm going to stop here before I enter this room because there's a limited amount of time going in here to execute the skip, and I want to explain it first. We're going to walk into the amusement park, walk forward, and use this item from the menu. The red liquid, as it's called in the English version. I mean, that is also just red liquid in Japanese, but whatever, like these... This item, this one. We're going to use it on a ghost baby. It's a little hard to see because it's like a silhouette of a child. This will cause a glitch to happen that skips the entire area and at least one boss fight. This glitch only works on, like, the first version of the game. So every Japanese copy this will work on, and most American copies this will work on. I don't think it works on, like, later releases of the American version, like Greatest Hits, because there was a patch revision. This bug and another completely unrelated and useless bug got fixed. It also does not work at all on PAL copies of the game. So PAL copies don't work for speedrunning this category because you can't do this, and this saves like a lot of time. So now I will demonstrate the trick. Skip the cutscene. Hold forward here to walk forward. Turn to the right. Turn to the left. There's your ghost baby. Get on top of it and use the item. And this will cause fun things to happen. I'm letting this one play out. This cutscene is skippable, but I'm not going to. This is the fruits of your labor if you manage to land this trick. If you miss this, it is quite punishing and there isn't really a backup for it. I think you just have to sort of do the section normally from that point on. You can still then advance to the boss and use the red liquid on the boss to skip that part of the fight, but you do have to play the rest of the area as intended. So my advice is just don't miss this. It's not particularly difficult, but maybe you'll like overshoot or undershoot or something. You can close the menu if you miss and try again, as long as the baby doesn't like disappear entirely. But you only have so much time to do that. It's not infinite. You do have a window. And it only works on that baby. I don't know why, but it's only that one. It's mistakenly like carrying the boss flag or something like that. I don't know. And once we're done like experiencing a Gadan glitch, we can move on to the final area. That whole like model corruption thing happens because the red liquid is used on the wrong enemy.